So Hokusai is right up over on the NA version of the game, and she's got a shiny new buff. But let me just say that I actually didn't even think we were going to get this banner, because realistically, if you look at the banners between now and Lost Belt 6 and how it seems like they kind of want to speed things along, this seems like one of the banners they could have cut. I mean, Tamamo, who's on the banner, is going to be available for free with the 5-star ticket during the anniversary. And Hokusai, I guess spoiler alert for this video, she's good, but she's not like game-breakingly good, right? Like, it's a servant you can get some value out of, but they're not gonna like solo stomp the entire game for you. You know, they're not like Arjuna Alter or anything, or like if Scotty came back around. So I was honestly expecting them to just like cut this banner, but they were like, nope, we're dropping it with the hunting quest. And I'm like, you know what? At the very least, you're just dropping all like the little things back to back to back to back to back, so we can start getting to the actual meat and potatoes of the game, which will probably be like the Grail Live event in like a week or two. So looking forward to that, but that is not the topic for today's video. We're going to be talking about Hokusai and whether or not you should roll for her. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be able to stop anybody that's going to decide to roll on Hokusai. The usual speeches like Lost Boat 6 stuff is coming out. Anniversary is right after that. Summer's around then. Summer rerun is around then. I feel like there's crazier servants you could roll on. So this is more for my people that actually just decided to go roll on Hokusai, I suppose. But before we actually begin, if you have not already, make sure you leave a like on the video and you subscribe to the channel for that sweet daily FGO content, because your boy is trying to make sure that you stay informed on both versions of the game, both NA and JP, so make sure you stay tuned for all the content that comes out on this channel. Also, if you want to see me play FGO and maybe some other mobile games live, peep that description where you'll find my Twitch, where I stream every weekday starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But without further ado, let's start to get into this video, starting off with Hokusai's hits. And I feel like the first thing that a lot of people are going to be drawn to are those absolutely insane 6-hit arts cards. And she doesn't just have the one, she's got 2 of them. And I know a lot of people might be having flashbacks to Ereshkigal, who also has a 6-hit arts card and can refund like 150% of her NP back if she crits on an arts card. Now, Hokusai can do similar things, but you gotta understand that like Ereshkigal is rocking more natural NP gain over Hokusai. Because Hokusai is rocking double 6-hit arts cards, they massively cut down on her natural NP gain, and someone like Ereshkigal also has like an NP gain buff. But then again, Hokusai also can get the NP gain buff from Castoria. She has her own arts buff to kind of buff the NP gain of her arts cards, but I wanted to address that because I know a lot of people are like super high on the Ereshkigal arts card because it's broken, but she's set up for a little bit more success just because of how she's built over someone like Hokusai. But I also don't want people to misunderstand and think that you can't get some nice fat NP gain back because of her new 3rd skill. The way they buffed it allows you to kind of get some of that light Ereshkigal massive refund on your arts crits. But again, because the natural NP gain is a lot more neutered on Hokusai, it's not going to be like this 300% refund or something crazy that you could get on other people that have these insane arts cards. Aside from that, she's rocking 4 on the quick, 4 on the double busters, and 4 on the extra attack, which means she's just shy of the 5-hit extra attack special that we like here over on the ZTL channel. But it's fine. Her natural star gen is at 15%, and as a foreigner, she passively gens 2 stars every single turn, so she's not going to be like Jack or anything, but you could sprinkle some stars in there, here and there, especially if you've got like a Castoria, Tamamo, Waver, Lady Avalon, whoever with like a 20-30 equip that's also kind of supporting her. You can have some nice stars flowing in. But overall, I just really wanted to highlight the arts cards there when we were talking about the hits, because those are kind of crazy, but I didn't want people to be like, oh, this is going to be like a Ereshkigal 2.0. It's like, temper your expectations a little bit. You can still do some nice work with it, just not as crazy. But now let's go ahead and start moving into some of her skills. So starting off with skill 1, this is going to be a very good method of survivability for Hokusai, as well as giving her a 30% battery. It's not as though art servants really need the extra survivability, because Castoria gives you invincibility, she gives you solemn defense on her NP, she gives you debuff cleansing. Lady Avalon has the AoE Nope skill and basically gives you some sustainability with the max HP buff. Tamamo can heal you, and she can also drain the enemies, but it is nice to have one of these survivability buffs, because you'll find yourself with times where, say, you had some solemn defense, but the enemy yeeted all your buffs off of you. Not that that's really going to be a problem for Hokusai, as we'll talk about in just a second, but let's say you lost all of your buffs for some reason. or all of your skills are on cooldown. It's just nice that Hokusai has a way to keep herself safe. Maybe she's the last one standing because your supports got absolutely blasted. It's just good for a servant that you might use in some more difficult content. And then the battery is very nice because, as you'll see, I'm doing some testing with Hokusai in the background right now and kind of using her for farming, and she can struggle a little bit. Now, this is even with me having a max limit broken Black Grail that is level 100, giving her massive stats and extra damage. She can still kind of struggle at NP1, which is what I'm assuming most people are going to have if they chose to summon for her on this banner. I'm not assuming someone with like Lost Belt 6 stuff right around the corner went ham taro on Hokusai to get her to like NP3 or something. All that to say is that she can struggle a little bit for farming, but that's nice that she has a 30% battery, because if you want to use her for that, she at least has a little bit of leniency in there where like maybe she misses out on like a little bit of NP. You can use this to kind of give her a nice glob of 30%, and she can use that to complete the farm, because she does have something that you might want to use her for farming for, like if you don't have a better option, because her special damage mod is pretty nice. But yeah, we'll talk about that more when we actually get to the NP. Moving on to the second skill, this is just like standard good stuff. You pretty much want to pop this skill every single time that you see it's available, because 30% arts buff for 3 turns is going to be very killer on someone like Hokusai, who without her third skill niche or her special damage mod does a negative damage. So you're going to want to have this up there so you're at least getting some amount of damage on your arts cards, and you're raising the natural NP gain of your arts cards, because Lord knows she needs it. But that thing I mentioned earlier where I was like, well, actually getting your buffs removed isn't a huge deal for Hokusai, that's because of the 2 skills she has right here following the arts cards, where she gives herself 100% buff removal resistance and 100% debuff resistance for 1 turn, meaning a lot of the debuffs that are going to be coming her way, it's not as good as debuff immunity, but 100% plus her passive 12% does mean that she's pretty much going to whiff any debuffs that come her way. And whenever she breaks an enemy's break bar, or someone else in the party breaks the break bar, and usually when they like yeet all of your buffs off of you, they're not going to be able to do that to her because she's like gluing all of her buffs to herself, and that makes her very, very good. It's very nice into some more future bosses that are going to be coming out, and some future challenge quests where a lot of these bosses just love to remove your buffs. I don't know why they started doing that. They were like, you know what? Forget having the bosses do 18 trillion damage. What if they just were like removing your buffs all the time? And so Hokusai thankfully has the buff that she can resist that. So it makes her really good for more difficult content as well, that she's not going to be ever threatened by having her buffs removed, unless this is kind of timed kind of poorly. Like if you know you're not going to break their break bar, but you know in like the next turn you might do it, maybe save it for the turn that you know you're going to break the break bar and you know they're going to remove your buffs, and sacrifice a little bit of damage for like the turns before that, right? Like kind of use it a little bit strategically if you're going into some of those fights where you know that's going to happen. Just kind of common sense stuff. But yeah, very solid skill, kind of sets her up for some good success if you want to use her for farming, but also is very nice if you want to use her in more difficult content. Finally, there's her third skill. This is like the gimmick for Hokusai. It's the one thing that I think makes her a little bit goofy, because what it does is it gives her an on-attack buff for 3 turns, that every time she attacks with one of her arts cards, including her NP, she's going to lower the enemy's defense by 20% for 3 turns. Now, here's the issue I have with this. Usually with an arts NP, you want to have your arts cards following your NP, especially on a servant like Hokusai who doesn't have the best NP gain, so you can refund more of your NP back to fire a subsequent NP. But the way that Hokusai wants to play is that she wants to have her arts cards go in front of her NP to get more damage. So you kind of go on this balancing act of, do I need more damage by, say, having 1 or 2 arts cards go in front of my NP for that extra 20, even 40% defense down that I can do before firing my NP? Or do I want to have my arts cards follow the NP so I can guaranteed get another NP and clap back, even though I maybe only lowered their defense by, again, still 40%, but this NP is not going to hit as hard. And it makes it a nice little balancing act. I personally always tend to go for the arts cards following the NP. I kind of do both in the gameplay you're seeing, just kind of show off different ways of doing it. But I generally like my consistency with my servants, and I like them being able to like consistently fire NPs, do the consistent damage, or they build up damage, stuff like that. I don't really like sacrificing the NP gain of a servant just for a little bit of extra damage. But the weird thing about Hokusai is that if you look at her damage charts when we get to the NP in a little bit, where I'll show her damage, It's not super great until you start lowering the enemy's defense. Like once you start lowering the enemy's defense, even by like 2 arts cards, which is pretty standard, you get some really decent damage going. And then God forbid you also get the special damage mod on top of that, she can really start hitting pretty hard. So she's one of those servants that even though I don't like doing it, you kind of need to if you want to do any semblance of damage. Now, the buff that she got makes it a bit easier to get the NP refund if you want to do it that way, because she gets star weight and she bombs 15 stars, and it specifically goes to her arts cards, so you could be doing arts crits. That's very, very nice. You can get that like Ereshkigal light style of effect where you're able to refund a lot on an arts crit or something, especially with double Castoria giving you like 40% extra NP gain. But finally, let's go over to her own NP. Very simple. It has 5 hits. For how low that her NP gain actually is at 0.33%, this probably could have used with like 6, 7, 8 hits or something along those lines. I'm hoping they end up buffing this in the future just to give it higher damage scaling, and then maybe throwing on like an NP damage buff, or maybe she stacks NP gain on her NP, kind of like Melusine does during the arts phase of her NP. I think that could be really good, but they at least did give her the man attribute special damage mod, and this is really good. As you guys should be seeing on screen, this hits a lot of different people. Like this hits so many different servants, so many different normal enemies that are very, very common. So you can kind of get away with using her in some farming nodes, like especially like you can see that all the like the Gouda people are on there. She can be really good for stuff like that, because once she has the man attribute special damage mod or the defense downs on her 3rd skill, her damage gets really, really nice. And so then you can kind of fluff up her damage a little bit and she doesn't look as bad. And yeah, man is still very, very good, especially for like any like annoying CQs. You'll find like a lot of these guys will be like thrown into like some boss fight or something, especially like you can see people like Liz and stuff are in there, like you see them all the time. But yeah, she's definitely like a very interesting servant. I do like Hokusai. I mean, I have her after all, so I did summon for her, but it's just one of those things where like she's definitely like goofy and interesting to use, but she's not bad, but she's not exactly great, which is why I'm like, I thought they might have just skipped this banner, honestly, because there's not a whole lot of draw to go to it, right? Like as I broke down in yesterday's video, you can get Tamamo for free during the anniversary, and Hokusai is good, but she's not going to take your account from like a tier 0 account to like a tier 10 account, right? Like you're not going to be like shooting through the roof. It'll be nice and you can use her in some areas, but she's not like this Omni tool that you're going to be able to break out all over the place. But I understand that a lot of people do really like Hokusai, and like I say, you know, if you want to summon for your waifu characters or your husbando characters, but then by all means go for this servant, right? Like if that's what's going to give you the most fun while playing FGO, which is a very grindy game, if you're at least having fun with a servant that you really, really like, then have at it, Haas. Like, you know, just go for it, you know, go for the servants that you absolutely like. I'm always going to give you the meta answer. I'm going to give you like what I think the best pick is to do, or like the best advice, but at the end of the day, you can't beat waifu with the meta pick, right? Like you're going to go for the character you like over that. So if you do like Hokusai and you did go for her, hopefully this video serves as a catalyst for you, and hopefully you have a very like good idea of what she's capable of doing. But with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace!